Woo! What's up? It's your boy Carcino here. Let's get into it as I multitask. Now, many of y'all don't really get it sometimes. How this hip hop thing works. Most of these guys were just different. You know what I'm saying? People, they lifestyles and how they moved, they was just different. And when you deal with people who are different, they have their own philosophy when it comes to getting things done. Meaning that they have their own course of action. Now, Nas, because he was successful pretty much early on, he became like Big Brother. Even though Havoc and Prodigy and Mobb Deep had Juvenile Hell out, people was like, okay, they doing good. And they had a successful album out before Nas. Like their album did better than Illmatic. The Infamous album. That album did better than Illmatic when it first came out. But Illmatic was looked at it as an all-time classic album. Even though theirs was considered a classic, you know, they're still talking about Illmatic as one of the greatest albums of all time. Still to this day. Now, when Mobb Deep dropped their second album, Hell on Earth, it did well, but it was kind of marred by the fact they didn't have any real singles. So this song became, the single. And the war with Tupac and all that stuff that was gonna kick off was basically the motivation, for the album. Like they had some other songs that they just couldn't put on the album due to him passing away, and Drop a Gem on him is the first single off the album. It's everywhere. So that kind of messed them up. And through all the Tupac runs and all of this, they kind of had to take a seat, and sit back and do other things while they were still working on, like, supposedly another Mobb Deep album. Then that was going to branch off into solo careers because Steve Rifkin was seeing it as, that was the way to go because of what was happening with Wu-Tang. And it was like, look, you can all get individual deals if it ain't enough money in the joint contract, which at that time is perfect for the record company. The more the merrier. That's how they look at it. Now, people have always tried to change narratives of what was supposed to be and what wasn't supposed to be. Now, when you see and think of Mobb Deep or you think of Prodigy, you start thinking about, Prodigy make the raps and Havoc does the music. That's what you think. But actually, Havoc wrote his own rap. But he was getting paid as a production guy on the side. So he was producing tracks for other people. So he had money coming in. P only gets paid for rapping. He wasn't making beats. So the fact that he wasn't making beats, this was going to present some type of a problem for anyone else who was coming in between the unit. There was no way they can continue to push forward. It just wasn't going to happen. Now, Havoc's got money. P is doing features and jumping on people's tracks, while Mobb Deep is kind of waiting, and working on their album and finna do their own independent thing. Havoc and P was like P was working on his album and their album at the same time while filming a movie in the process. So they were filming Murder Music, the movie, right along with all of the success that was going on. So it's chaotic. Meanwhile, The Firm was supposed to be the backbone album that everybody followed at that time. Everybody was jumping on board because all the money was being put up for this major Firm release. Now, when this Firm album was coming out and they had all this mafioso stuff going, that was supposed to be the new everything. So the Firm album getting ready to come out and everybody finna gravitate to that, and that's finna be the new landing point. Mobb Deep went about 3 years before they put their album out. They third project. So within that 3-year space, there was all this work being done. A lot of other things coming in between. But the problem with Prodigy is he was really close to Cormega more than any of the other guys. Mega and him was close, probably more than Nas. And Nas and P was cool, and they wrote together, did some songs, but he was more tight with Mega. So when Mega had the incident with Nas, Prodigy basically is like, well, damn, done. I don't want to, get in between that, which I'm just going to fall back, which he did. He fell back, but he was still hanging more with Mega. Because they was in the studio working together and all that stuff. And when he was kicked out of the Firm, and P was like, man, that's kind of foul. Because that's your brother. The thing, he would work with you on something like that. Rather than just, all right, you kicked out. That's kind of foul. So, to see it go down that way made things look more shady than everything. Like, how could somebody else who wasn't in the Firm come in and tell somebody else, you gotta go, or that person gotta go? Like, that ain't right. That don't sit well with anybody that's in the crew. But nobody wanted to, say anything about it. So Nature had came into the picture. Now, it was nothing against Nature, you know. But Prodigy relationship where he was more closer with. The person he was tighter with was Mega. So it was just natural that he didn't deal with Nature like that. Nature wasn't that kind of guy. Like he wasn't a street dude. Not like that at all. He was mostly a in the house cat, who just rapped. But what ticked everybody off was how quickly they just up and replaced him and just gave Nature the call like, yo, you ready? You in the firm now. It was like, damn. Like that. Just like that. As quick as that, he was in the firm. As disrespectful as it was, that's how it went. He was just inserted as a member of the firm, and he's in there with AZ and Foxy. But now he's in the mix. So he's around people like P and all them, and P was like, I don't want this dude around me. I don't know him. You know what I'm saying? So he was a fan of Prodigy. He's a fan of all these dudes. So he was just happy to be there, and happy for his opportunity. But P could be a knucklehead at times and say some crazy ish, And then he was listening to his rhyme and was like, man, this dude be talking a bunch of bull. He don't know nothing about that. So P became offended because Nature had said a line that he was like, man, I was there that night. And you don't know what you're talking about. I was there. Well, why the hell this ain't working? Okay, we getting somewhere now. All right, we kind of getting there. But anyhow, stay with it. Now, they had a dude named Jonah. I don't know what his street name was, but Jonah went to school with Prodigy. So he was like, man, he knew Nature was like, man, y'all dudes need to link up. Like, on the rap tip, this is where it is. Like, y'all should be together making records. Like, well, I don't even understand what the problem is. And he was like, man, he ain't streets. I ain't gotta be. Dude can rap. So that was that. And then they heard what happened when Mega had to straighten him out. Mega went over here and had to straighten out, Nature for what he said at the radio station. So anyway, they was doing the Queensbridge Finest out, right? And Nature, Nas was like doing so much for him, and Prodigy is like, dude, who is this kid? You know what I'm saying? Like, Mega is your guy, and you just rolling more with this kid. This is just nuts. So Pete Rock was gonna Pete Rock was supposed to do a song with Prodigy and Nas, and they never did it. But they ended up doing another song called Self Conscious. They did like 3, 4 records together. Now at the same time, people that was in they click bars and hooks, they really didn't like Nas like that for some reason. You know, they was some stick up kids from like really street dudes from the bridge. And Nas, they knew they couldn't mess with Nas because that would mess up a lot of stuff for him. But they really wasn't feeling him like that. So every time Nature would try to get close with Prodigy, you know, he really couldn't. You know, it was Jonah that really said, "Hey, you know, you should work with Duke." You know what I'm saying? Like you should work with him, but he really didn't get down with him until years down the road. You know, they ended up having his falling out with Nas and everything else, and he realized, man, I was being stupid. You know what I'm saying? You know, Mega and Nature, they end up talking and realizing he was a good dude. He was young and influential, but he was more influenced instead of by Nas, he was more influenced by Jay-Z. And he was stuck. And Nas had told him this. He was stuck in character. He was conflicted on the artist he wanted to be because he was impressed by Flash, like Jay. And that's why the energy was off. And he did some Jay-Z Snake type stuff, but Nas was more upset with Tone and Poke for trying to go behind his back while he was out of town handling business. He come back in town and they gonna sign Nature behind his back. And then he wouldn't even let Nas executive produce the album when basically you got the record deal off of Nas. So I understood how Nas felt about the situation because he's like, dude, you was getting paid on movie soundtracks. You know, you rapping, you getting money, and you don't have any songs out. Nothing. You know, I'm basically bankrolling you with my legacy. You know, because they just wanted Nas. But in the back of Nature, man, Nature, like, yeah, everybody talking about how Nature killed the track and Nature did this. And Nature was better than Nas on that song. Nas wasn't trying to outshine him. But people didn't look at it like that, and it was going to Nature's head. So, Prodigy, who really didn't want to be around Nature, once he saw Mega and he had, you know, patched things up with him, he went and talked to him and Nori and all those dudes. Nori had talked to P because they was all cool. And Nori was like, man, Nature's good people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think you need to talk. Y'all need to talk. So he was like, for real? You really like, you know, you like dude like that? Like, he's that. He was, yeah, y'all need to really talk. You know, that's really what's up right now. Y'all need to talk. So, true to it, they sat down, had a conversation, and they made it the song Cold Blooded Killers. Like the same day, they had a conversation, hit it off. They made Cold Blooded Killers with I think Nori on that track. Then G Rap and Prodigy and him, you know, Nature was like family after that. But at first, Prodigy couldn't stand dude. So that's how that played out. But they ended up, you know, Jonah ended up hooking them up. That's how it was told to me. So I'm telling it to you. And you probably wonder what I'm doing over here, what I'm doing down here. I'm in the basement drilling stuff up. You know, trying to get the TV on the wall. Got the TV, so I'm gonna try to throw it on the wall. So, you know me, I'm multitask. Always. Yeah, man, it's just coming right off the memory, man. Right off memory. So, anyhow, y'all wanted to get back on the hip hop tip. So, cool, we hip hopping it. Don't forget, man, my Cash App is Carcino. And, you know, the super chats, y'all know the super chat button work, but definitely, more importantly, hit the like button so they can know that you're here. And if you're new, subscribe to the page, hit the notification bell so you can get your notifications. And if you're not getting your notifications, please, please, please hit the send feedback button and tell YouTube, hey, why am I not getting my notifications for this page? And you put my URL in there, my YouTube URL, and hopefully they can fix it for you and you'll start getting your notifications. All right, I'm out.